Welcome to In the Zone. I am Craig Zimmerman, and number 68 here, and I've got a famous basketball coach in front of me. Welcome, Carrie Lohr.
Thank you.
So glad we could hook up our schedules here. Thanks for coming in your sort of busy, crazy season starting up basketball. So you're the women's basketball coach at Wayne State University, but you didn't start there. You were born and raised where?
I was born and raised in the Thumb in Sandusky, Michigan, a small rural farm community.
And you went to grade school and high school there?
I did, yeah,
Okay.
graduated high school there.
In a typical fashion, when somebody becomes a basketball coach at the college level, you probably played high school basketball pretty well.
I don't know about that, but I
Well.
played.
Okay, and you played for a coach that's pretty synonymous with ladies basketball in the Thumb.
Yeah, he is definitely a Hall of Fame coach, El DeMont, and
Yep.
he's still coaching today. Just broke the MHSAA record for most wins.
Yeah.
So he is really a great coach, great mentor, and I still stay connected with him.
You got his number in your cell phone,
I
I'm sure.
definitely have his number, yes.
So especially in a scenario like that where a coach has stayed in one spot for so long, that's almost unheard of.
It really is unheard of, and he's really just changed the community up there, and I think girls basketball is part of that community and,
Sure.
and something that young people get excited about. He, even when I played, it seemed like he had been there several years and already had a little system going with youth basketball and bringing young people into the gym, and it's really grown from there, and you know, I'm grateful that I played for him and grateful for that opportunity.
Okay, so you were born and raised up there, your mother, father, and siblings. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, my father was a mechanic. He was a tractor mechanic, and my mom stayed at home and was at times worked in an office, but not until I was older. My brothers and I kind of grew up on our grandparents' farm, and so I grew up, you know, knowing how to milk cows and you know, stack hay, bale hay, pick stones.
Whatever
you know,
needed to be done.
clean the stalls, right?
Yeah.
So I grew up knowing what hard work really looked like.
There's something to be said for, and I grew up in a small community as well like that, for having to do things that maybe you didn't want to do when you were 12 or 13 years old, but you learn real quick.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to do
Yeah.
but we didn't really know anything else, and so being at my grandparents' farm and was really, you know, it was kind of fun too, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, you get done with your chores or a hot day in July out in the fields with my grandpa, and he would then, you know, promise us he'd put the boat in the water and drive us to Port Sanilac so
Okay.
we could swim and water ski. So, you know, there was definitely some great memories, and certainly it's nothing that I would ever change. I'm glad I had the opportunity to do that. I don't think I want to, you know,
Do it
have
again.
a farm now,
Right.
but I certainly have a lot of respect for those who do that job.
And it seems like when you talk to a farmer or about a farmer, farmers don't retire from farming. It's sort of what they do, right? I mean, for the most
True.
part, if a farmer has good health, chances are they're doing it into later years because it's sort of what they do. You know, and I notice
Agree with that.
up there, up in the Thumb, because there are more farmers today in the Thumb than there are maybe down here in St. Clair area. There used to be more here, but there's certainly a lot of people that still count on running a farm.
Absolutely.
And up there, it seems like they're bigger farms, many, many hundreds of acres, maybe even a couple thousand, right?
Right.
Big tractors.
It's a lot of work.
One thing that's sort of changed in that, and I don't expect us to figure out the answer to this, but there are tractors that drive themselves nowadays that in the generations ahead are changing farming.
Yeah, we certainly weren't the farm that had that
Yeah.
or the air conditioning or the radio. So.
Right, yeah, exactly. So you went to high school up in Sandusky, and did you go to play basketball at college?
I did. I ended up, when I was in high school, my high school coach, El DeMont, was friends with Fred Shaw, local high school coach here in St. Clair for years. And the travel circuit was starting to evolve. Back then it was AAU, now it's really just more club and travel, but that AAU circuit was small, but yet happening. And if you were going to compete and kind of keep your program growing,
Sure.
you needed to start to get involved in that. And so the two of them started what was called the Thumb Area Connection. And we had tryouts from all over really the thumb area. And Al coached a team, and Coach Shaw coached a team, and that's when I met Coach Shaw. I was 16 and had the opportunity to play on his team, and from there, I met his daughter Ann, became one of my best friends, and by the time we were seniors, we were both being recruited to play basketball at St. Clair Community College, and thought, why not? I thought I was going to go away to college and just spend 4 years somewhere
Sure.
and I was not ready to stop playing. And so I ended up moving to St. Clair, and I actually lived with the Shaw family. I moved in when I was 17, right when I
Okay.
graduated high school, and I've really kind of been in and out of the community, I guess, ever since.
Okay, so you must have been pretty good when you lived at the Shaw community, or Shaw House, because Fred Shaw was the one that recommended you to be here.
Well, thank you.
So you played SC4 for 2 years?
I did, yeah.
Okay. Did you transfer somewhere else?
I did. I actually took a gap year in there. I thought I was done competing. I had a great experience at the community college and played for a gentleman who has since passed, and Paul Jackson,
Yep.
and really just brought a great fun and energy to the game. And
Sure.
but I thought it's been a lot, and I've done this for 2 years, and so I took a year off, and then I realized that I really missed it. And Coach Jackson, even though I was no longer playing for him, he put me in the car and take me to college visits. When I look back on it now, he was certainly very busy, and he was still at the time a high school teacher and
Sure.
coaching a team, and still finding time midweek in the winter to take me on college visits. So, and I ended up at the University of Michigan in Dearborn, and ended up playing there for 2 years,
Okay.
and earning my degree from there.
Okay. Paul Jackson's another one of those names, as we talked about earlier, some of the legends from the area. I hate to bring up a lot of names, because if I do that, I'll forget one or two.
That's
but,
okay.
But Paul Jackson certainly one of them. Fred Shaw's one. Tony Monty's another.
Yes.
El DeMott's another.
Yes.
And probably a few more in between, just in the game of basketball around here. What I marvel at is that when a El DeMott and a Fred Shaw get together and have lunch, I'd like to hear the conversations about what they talk about if they saw a game the night before.
Right. Well, I think back then they probably used napkins and ink pens, but now you could throw out a dry erase board. But certainly, I'm fortunate to have played for 3 really great coaches
Sure.
from this area, and all have a little bit different approach. In addition to my college coach at Michigan Dearborn, who's still active, still a coach at the high school level. So
Okay.
I've got some people I can reach out to.
So you graduate from U of M Dearborn, and what happens after graduation there?
I end up, Coach Shaw ended up calling me saying, they need a basketball coach for their freshman team in Richmond High School. And I guess I'll give it a shot. I was doing an internship at Ford Motor Company in Dearborn, and then eventually went on to work there full time. And so I'll give this a shot, and didn't really, know what I was doing, but
Right.
I thought, well, I'll just kind of do some of the things that
They taught you.
These coaches did. And I'll have to say, it was in the early, mid-90s.
Yep.
And probably, I remember that team, and it was incredibly rewarding. I inherited this group that was like 0-24 from 7th and 8th
Okay,
grade. They went
right.
0-12 and 0-12. So when we won our first game, I thought
Big
they
deal.
were, there was probably 12 people in the stands, right? And it was such joy to see them win. From there, I was asked to be an assistant coach at the community college. So I went back to the community college and kind of did both. Was coaching
Sure.
the freshman team, and then at the community college, I spent a year at Port Huron Northern
Okay.
as a freshman coach. Again, still at the community college as an assistant, and was there about 3 seasons, and decided, okay, this is what I want to do. I was working in kind of corporate world, and I'm going to go back to college and get my master's degree and see if I can really springboard
Sure.
coaching further, right? So in the 90s, it just didn't seem like it was a reality, though, that there weren't that many female coaches.
Sure.
And so I went to Oakland and actually knocked on the door of the new head coach at OU, and she was willing to give me an opportunity. So I spent 3 years at Oakland, what was a graduate assistant position my first season, and evolved into an assistant coach position.
Okay.
So that was, I'm really grateful to her and for her to give me a chance.
Sure.
That was the year that Oakland was in a transition. So they were no longer competing at Division II. They were in a independent year,
Okay.
and then went to what was called the Mid-Continent Conference at the Division I level. So that's kind of, from there, I went back to
Okay.
St. Clair when that job opened.
So Dale Voss called you, or
He
you
did.
called him?
No, he did call, and I was, I don't know, well, I was about 4 months pregnant with
Okay.
our daughter, and I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. And that was in, I don't know, 2001,
Okay.
maybe? Yeah.
It wasn't that long ago, right?
Yeah. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but then,
Yeah.
yeah.
The amazing thing to me when you talk to a coach like yourself is that, people know that, yes, she started here, but then they forget about the, formidable years of freshman coach at this high school, freshman coach at this high school. They think all of a sudden you just arrived and boom,
Right.
you're in this job. No,
Right.
it starts in little baby steps almost.
It really does, and I get asked a lot from former players or just other people that wanting to get into the industry and the business, and I'll recommend positions that I know are open, and
Sure.
they're not interested
Right.
because it's not. Why would I take that?
That's
or
not
it's
glamorous.
volunteer, and I'm thinking, gosh. I mean, I remember sweeping the floors and
Yeah.
having keys to the janitor's closet and cleaning and
Right.
fundraising, and you just do it for really nothing. But you do it for certainly the reward and the joy.
It
right?
seems like almost I go down these rabbit holes on a weekend where I'll be on Wikipedia and I'll see a coach coaching something like, a Pat Summitt or even some of these people, right? And you go, oh, they didn't start in that. Then you look back, oh, they spent 3 years at Southwest Iowa State Wesleyan, had 600 students,
Correct.
right?
Yeah, I mean, John Beeline is certainly one of those too. Started at the community college and now obviously
Right.
made his way into the pros. But people kind of forget that he was in his 30s at some point,
Right.
starting a career. He wasn't always
Yes.
John Beeline from University of Michigan,
Right.
or with the Detroit Pistons or what have you. So
And if you read, some of these people, they'll write a book, and if you read their books, and somewhere in the middle pages, it'll talk about the stress and the trials and tribulations of, the vaunted road trip to such and such with a team that was 0-X, and that was sort of a turning point in their career, and from there, that gets forgotten, and they don't realize that the road to get there was pretty tough.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
you have to just kind of think, if it was easy, everyone would do it,
Yeah.
right? So
So you
not.
must have crossed paths a number of times with our famous, beloved past Jim Weimer.
oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
SC4,
Yes.
hanging out at the gym.
Yes. He was a really good friend and,
Yeah.
and loyal supporter of me in my young career. But also I'll go back and, my mother still has some articles
Right.
when I was a kid, playing, and Jim Weimer wrote the article.
Right.
And then from there, when I was at the community college, I developed a great friendship with him. And,
Yeah.
it would be Taco Tuesday. And every Tuesday we'd, catch up on, he'd update me on his kids and the
Right.
local, sports venue and what was going on where. And,
Yep.
we developed a great friendship, and down the line ended up hiring his son,
Yeah.
who's in having a great career
Yes.
now in women's athletics.
I called Joel and I told him, I said, anytime you're coming up to visit your mother, I'd like to get an interview, but I understand you're a little busy.
Right, right.
What I thought the coolest thing, and we're talking about really an era that is almost, I'll say almost gone by, in the sense of, a Port Huron Times-Herald isn't today what it was 20, 30 years ago, as far as there was 2, 3, 4 people in the sports department. They were writing articles about this high school, that high school. My daughter had Jim Wright articles, and I'm sure my wife saved them, and they're in a scrapbook somewhere, of a story of a JV game or varsity game where such and such athlete did these things. And it again is one of those things that you sort of glaze over and it's cool, but years later you'll find those things, and how cool is that? Right? To have a story written about you, or look at my name's there. And they maybe, if grandma or grandpa lived far away, mom might have went and bought an extra Times-Herald, cut it out and sent it to them. Or stories like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So when you talk about athletes today in the college coming out of high school in say 2021, 2022, and 2023, there isn't much of that left where the local newspapers covering a high school kid, right?
No, there's not. I mean, in some of the smaller communities, you'll certainly still see the local newspaper, but unfortunately, social media has kind of taken that over, and really you could just write your own article, right? Parents can write their own tweets about how their kid performed in an event.
Well, I'm sure coaching at Wayne State, there's got to be somebody down in the city that tweets about Wayne State women's basketball, right?
We do have someone in our sports information department. Yeah, they monitor that. Yes. Right.
So let's talk about. So you went from SC4. Did you go directly from SC4 to Wayne State?
I did. 9 years at St. Clair Community College, and I'm just starting my 13th year at Wayne State.
Okay. Tell us about the changes from a junior college to a, big city school, downtown Detroit.
Well, I would say that, certainly there's more resources, right, at the Division II level than what we had at St. Clair or have. However, I will say that, I had what I needed at St. Clair Community College. I don't think any of our students were lacking, right? But, you get into a bigger university and there's just a lot more hands, right, involved, and people involved with various responsibilities, from facility management to equipment management, social media, scheduling, compliance. The goal is still the same, right? I still go out and step on the courts, 94 feet, still trying to win, right? So that part of the game is I'd like to say it's still the same in that regard, because, we've had some changes with the three-point line and, some shot clock, different things, right? But ultimately, you're just trying to, create an environment for young women to, really excel, grow, learn about themselves. And I think from the time I started in 2001 at St. Clair till now, it hasn't changed. I'm trying to empower young women. I'm trying to help them, be independent. And really just have a great life and have the confidence to do that. So I don't know that my goal has changed. Being in Wayne State and having various resources is certainly a positive. But I do think that for me personally, my joy is to call one of my former students who or receive a text, they just got into medical school, or they're getting married, or they just got a job at Minnesota. Another one of my players let me know she got a video job at Rutgers. So those are really rewarding stories for me.
The other thing too is that the schools of yesteryear are so different than today in the sense of so many opportunities to excel after you graduate. Like you mentioned, you've got somebody that handles social media. You've got somebody that handles probably the videotaping of your games, the videotaping of not just the women's game but the men's game. And is there somebody separate? Is there somebody that does nothing but video for the women's basketball team?
That's our team manager. But I will say that has been a hard transition for me when I went from St. Clair to Wayne State, because I was used to just doing it myself. I was. I was used to, here's the bus, here's your meal money, here's your budget,
Right.
here's camp, and now, you have so many people you have to notify, and that's a good thing. It's just, it was a tough transition for me.
Yeah.
Oh, I can do that. Oh, I've got that. And then you realize, like, you really shouldn't be doing
Right,
all of
'cause
that.
you
You
got
don't have
people for
time.
that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
people
So,
for
so
that.
it's like bootstrapping your own business to now you're a manager of many people.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
So now Wayne State has changed quite a bit in the last 12, 13 years in regards to they've built a whole host of dorms. So I would assume that today versus 12 or 13 years ago, there's less commuters and more, people living there even.
Yeah, there are, I mean, we have to compliment, Dan Gilbert and
Sure.
big businesses, right, that came into the city and were willing to invest in the city. I would say in the last 10 years, it's changed drastically in a good way. So, I mean, we are now located in what they call Midtown,
Yeah.
right? So there's downtown, there's Midtown, and there's the news center. So there's kind of different pockets of the city been identified. The Woodward corridor is, very
Bustling,
robust
yep.
now. Restaurants, stores, and really by moving the Pistons downtown, opening up Little Caesars Arena. So we're one of the few, if not only, cities in the country that have all 4 pro teams right downtown.
Sure.
So that's very unique. On our campus now, we share our facility, our field house, with the Motor City Cruise, which is the G League team of the Pistons.
Okay.
So, there's a lot going on in the world of sports
Sure.
in a small area. But because people believed in the city and invested in the city, it's really started to flourish, and it's a great place to be. I always say, and I'm not sure I would have been a great student had I attended Wayne State, because I would have been distracted, right?
Sure.
I mean, my players finished a workout last week, and they're like, we're going to the Tigers game.
Right.
I mean, they just can last minute get
Yeah,
online
it's up the street.
and go, and it's
Yeah.
up the street. They don't want to miss a concert. They go to a lot of authentic restaurants and eat
Right.
great food, right? So there's a lot to do, and it's really fun to be down there. It's exciting, a lot going on, and you're right. I think we do have less commuters. Our campus population has stayed the same. However, people have bought up the surrounding areas and renovated buildings into, housing units. So
I
people live
remember
in those areas now, and it's great.
I worked in Detroit a lot of years, and I used to be able to drive, park in an alley, leave your car, no problem, don't pay, no nothing, to a point where now it's parking garages everywhere. It's $10 to park.
Yeah.
It's busy. It's hustling, bustling, busy. The Midtown area, to me, reminds you almost like a good Chicago. I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah.
When we bring recruits onto campus, and then we take them down Woodward, and they get to see kind of what's happening and how close we are to a lot of entertainment, whether
Sure.
it be sports or music or art or you name it. They're really blown away, and they often say, boy, this reminds me of Chicago.
And I would think that you might even get, say, ladies from Livonia, Novi, Plymouth, I'm just saying, Oriole this way, they go, I had no idea it was like this.
We have recruits on campus, fairly regularly.
Yep.
I would say every week, but probably by every other week, they're wow, we've never been here.
Right.
And they live 20 minutes away.
Right.
Well, so I don't feel as if anyone has ever left our campus like, I don't really think I liked it.
Right.
Everyone leaves saying, wow.
I had no
It's
idea.
beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, our campus is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of things, like you say, within blocks, plenty of things to do, restaurants to see, all kinds of venues. So the new bridge down there is basically, a lot of people don't realize, but that's the new bridge across I-94 is basically across the street from Wayne State.
Correct.
So your office must be close to there.
Very close.
Yeah.
If you are on I-94 and you see the football stadium,
Yep.
I'm, another building away,
Okay.
right there.
Okay. So what's going on? We're talking now in middle of August. Tell me the schedule for you for the rest of the year for basketball.
Well, the schedule is somewhat dictated a little bit by the NCAA.
Sure.
So our calendar is kind of written for us, so
Yep.
to speak. So NCAA rules for Division II state that you can begin workouts 5 days after their first day of class. So, then that keeps everyone somewhat on an even playing field, right? Because
Yep.
not everyone starts class the same day.
Sure.
We'll start on the 28th, and we'll get going the day after Labor Day. So starting from that point to October, we're allowed to work out with our players 8 hours a week. However, only 4 of those hours can be on-court instruction. So that would include, any kind of conditioning or weight room. From October 1 till the start of our season in early November, we're at 20 hours a week.
Okay.
But now that includes film sessions, individual breakdowns. So now that you're encompassing a lot of things, and not to exceed 20 hours per week for the student athlete. And we'll stay under that regiment from October till hopefully through March.
So what's the date for the first game?
We play November 10th,
Okay.
and we're allowed 28 games, which is very interesting when you say 28 games, because you're recruiting players who have been in this travel
Yes.
league, and they've played 20 over the weekend,
Right.
right? So it's interesting because they say, "Oh, we love basketball," and it's like, well, of course, who wouldn't just love to just show up
Right.
and just play
Play
games,
ball,
3
right.
games a day, and never have to practice or
Yeah.
do homework, or so there's a niche to trying to find the right student who enjoys school as well,
Right.
right? But 28 game season, and then obviously the goal is to make your conference tournament, and then make the NCAA postseason tournament.
So your season will start then in November and end roughly when?
Our conference tournament will start early March.
Okay.
From there, the NCAA Division II has a selection Sunday, so you hope that you are one of those teams to get those remaining, 30-some spots.
Okay.
Right? There'll be automatic
Yep.
qualifiers, and then those remaining spots.
So then how many girls are on the team?
This year, my roster is a little bigger than normal. Last year I had 12. This year I'm leaning more on about 17.
Okay.
I would say for me around 14, 15 is a
Perfect.
typical roster for
Okay.
me. Mhm.
And out of those, say 15 or 17 this year, how many are scholarships?
Well, we are allowed, so our scholarships are a little different than
Yep.
Division I, so everyone just thinks everything's carte
Right.
blanche, and it's not. But so what the Division II does is they'll give you what's called an equivalency. So they say, okay, you are allowed to give out the equivalency amount of 10 full scholarships.
Okay. Yep.
However, at Division II, you're allowed to cut those
Split 'em up.
right?
Yep.
So some of our young ladies, well, almost all of our young ladies are on some sort of academic aid,
Sure.
where they've gotten not aid, but award.
Yep.
And with that, then you can couple, athletic aid. In addition, they might have gotten a, local scholarship
Sure.
from something or paper they have written. So all of that kind of pools into that. So having 10 scholarships, but having 15
Right.
plus players, all of my players are essentially coming for free, but their scholarships just all look a little
Coming from
different.
different places.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm able to delegate that
Okay.
funding out,
Okay.
right, in different ways.
now let's backtrack and go back to SC4.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I want to backtrack to SC4 is we are sitting in St. Clair,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to SC4, you went to SC4. I'll ask young ladies and young men this fall, I'll ask the question a dozen times at least. You have any plans? What's going on, next year if they're a senior? And what I dislike about some of the answers is some of the kids will say, well, I'm just going to SC4. And I have a problem with that because SC4, I think, A, has a great product. I think it's a good spot. It's close to home. It's affordable. So there's a lot of good reasons to go to SC4. And if you want to go to four-year college, and you can transfer. Tell me what your thoughts are.
No, I agree with you 100%. I think St. Clair is really one of the, and I've traveled to all of them
Sure.
throughout the state, so I've seen every community college in the state.
Yep.
And it is really a remarkable place. To have to live by the water, right?
Yep.
Having to go to school in a community that really the college is
Central.
central, yes, absolutely. You're not fighting with other, for us sometimes it's hard at Wayne State to draw crowds because if people are coming to the city, they're going to a Red Wings game or a a Pistons game, right?
Sure.
So here they have an opportunity to really draw and I have the utmost respect for St. Clair Community College and all of those people who really helped me springboard my career, Dale Voss in particular. He is now managing, I think, 16 or 17 varsity or sports now. And at one point I said, gosh, I think you might have as many sports as we have at Wayne State. And our department is fully staffed.
Sure.
So I'm not sure
how it gets done.
So that means a lot of people are willing to roll up their sleeves and help. Sure. Pete Lacey, too, has also been instrumental in kind of helping me through my career and being a positive supporter, but he's really helped grow the community college, and I think it's a great place. And I've referred players who haven't maybe quite been ready to play for me, or could maybe sustained an injury, could use a full year of just getting in 30 games. I don't hesitate to recommend them to go there.
Also, if you look at the way SC4 is today compared to what it was back when you or I went, the dorms, the field house. Right. Now, the field house is a little bit better today than the old North Gym, right? A little?
A lot. I mean, as a player, when I first, it was in, 89? Right? So in the early 90s, we were at a high school. I think we were at Central, Port Huron Central High School. That's where we went to practice. Sure. And the college team went there. Yeah. And then, it was such a grand opening to have the field house with the, the pillars in the middle of the, they were making the most of what they could with that building. And it became a really fun place to play because it was small and compact and loud and got hot.
Like an old field house.
Yeah, of course. And now what they're playing in today is better than a lot of four-year college gyms. It really is. Sure.
Okay. So you're gonna go on to a big season here at Wayne State. You're gonna qualify for the NCAA tournament.
Well, that's the goal.
That's the idea.
That's the goal.
So your girls now are sort of getting ready. When you're not able to be with them and you're in, say, the blackout period, what is the message you're sending? Are you wanting them to work out and continue getting ready for the first day of practice?
Yes, of course. I think that what people don't realize, and when they ask me, so how is your team going to be? It's like, gosh, I don't know. I haven't honestly been on the court with them since April 18th. Okay. And I won't go back on the court with them until September 5th. So that's several months.
Yeah, a long time.
So definitely there's a discussion about, wanting to be in the gym, wanting to be better, wanting to improve your role, but really help the team become better. And they have an opportunity to work out in our facilities, but not with us. So they can work out with our strength and conditioning coach. And over the years, we've been able to get girls to commit to that in the summer, 2 to 3 days a week. One day they'll say, okay, everybody try to make Wednesday because that's the day we're going to play open gym or what have you. And then obviously COVID hit, and so Wayne State was really shut down. Even when we opened the doors back up, it was very, very minimal. So it's taken a few years, but I'm really happy about this group that I have now and trying to rejuvenate that and made a commitment to, come to campus, stop by the office, say hello, help out if we have a recruit on campus for the day, but really just get together and make the commitment that they're going to lift and work out together and then get in the gym and get some shots up. So, we know that they certainly could do that anywhere, right? Oh, why do I need to drive to campus? I could do it at my own high school gym or a local fitness center. But the point is to get them to make that commitment together and kind of go through that together, right? Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it's all a process, right? And the teams that over the years that even in our conference who have had success kind of have stayed at the top, right? Because their players commit to that off season. And I think the off season is when you get better. When we, go from October 1 and we're ready to go, I mean, that's a hard time for me to you know, all of a sudden change something in your game or improve something, because now I'm working on the dynamics of the team in the scheme of what we're doing together. So, you know, that's part of the recruiting process too, getting players who really love the game. So I've learned that there are a lot of people who really like basketball. They love to go out and just throw the ball out and play, but do they love it where they want to get good at it and train and do all the things when nobody's watching, right?
Well, and the other thing too is high school is good, but you're now going to a different level.
Right.
Everybody's good when you get to your level, right?
Right. And we again have that conversation at the beginning of the year. You know, 15, 17, however many are on my roster, every single one of them were the best player on their high school team. And they were, and we recruited them, and we saw something in each of you, and now it's, you know, my job to try to get it to work, but you're all not going to be the leading scorer.
Sure. Yep.
Right.
Okay. Well, Carrie Lohr, thank you for coming in.
Yeah,
appreciate your
absolutely.
time. Took a while to get our schedules to meet because I know you're crazy busy. So enjoy the rest of the time off here before you get busy, and we'll be looking in on the sports pages for Wayne State women's basketball.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. If anybody knows anybody that wants to be put on this show called In the Zone, phone number's there, 586-707-5811, and we'll be in the books here for number 68. Thank you. I think.